Welcome to the Sales Queen podcast, where we teach women how to turn their skills into sales and monetize their message so they can finally sell with the clarity, confidence, and certainty that they've always wanted to. No longer does the game of sales need to be an old boys club. It's time for you to sell like a queen. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Sales Queen podcast. I am so excited to be here with my friend Ploy Archisa, who is a senior investment consultant and an amazing first-generation immigrant from Thailand. You guys are going to get to hear her story today. It is an incredible one, and I am just honored to get to facilitate this conversation. So, Ploy, thank you for being here on the show today.
Megan's very happy to be here. Super excited. So thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the first question that I love to ask everybody is, why don't you kind of take everybody through your origin story, however far back that you want to go, of kind of where you came from, and then leading us into how the heck did you get into investment banking of all things? How did you even get here in the first place? And let's just kind of open up the conversation there.
You know, it's blown my mind every day. So I have an elephant, and one day I decided to hop on it. And somehow it's land America. And life started there. I'm kidding.
I was like,
oh my God, I think I'm weird. I'm so sometimes.
I was like, okay.
Before this call, I tell myself to do not be yourself, do not be weird, but it's too late now.
We're all in.
So,
I love it.
A little bit of my background, I was born in a very small town called Sa Kaeo, Ta Phraea in Thailand. It's about 6,000 people. It's a farmland, agriculture, school, a small province that I get to grow up with. Came from a very small family, and we just grind it out. My mom opened a small shop, like a boutique store, and then she started expanding to the rest of the village. So I grew up watching her do that, and it helped build who I am today. And I'm super ambitious at a young age for some reason. And I applied for a scholarship later on in early years in high school. And then I got accepted into an exchange student program called YES. And I landed in Minnesota. And that's my first year of a whole new world.
Yeah.
And then after that, I tried again for a scholarship and then got into college. And then I tried again and I got into continuing education program. And now I work in finance. I sell private equity to banks in West Coast. And it's my responsibility to expand our company and affiliate throughout the country. So it's new, exciting. I'm a rookie still. I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Okay, I have so much I want to unpack. So how old were you when you knew that you wanted to uproot your entire life and come to America? And did you know English? Did you learn English? Did you have to learn it when you came here? What was that process like?
Education system in Thailand, we have two systems, private school and, the government system school. So I went to both. I did not learn how to make a conversation. It's more like a grammar, like A, B, C, cat, dog, bird, just kind of don't know how to communicate, didn't know slang. So I did everything I could. I tried to listen to American music and kind of open dictionary, what does word mean? What's slang? What is this?
Yeah.
And then watch the movies, read the book, practice, try to speak to strangers. And later on, I pick up and learn how to have a conversation. So start in middle school, I would say, when it's start trajectory, be able to communicate freely.
Wow, that's amazing. My sister-in-law did the same thing. She and her sister, they're from Brazil. They watched all 15 seasons of Friends, of the show Friends, and they'd watch it with subtitles, and then they would just literally study it. And her sister became fluent in English just by watching that much. So I think that's actually really popular, just to engrave yourself in or engulf yourself into pop culture. And that seems to work for a lot of people. That's so interesting.
Absolutely. I highly encourage non-native English speakers try that system growing up. It helped very much. And plus you enjoy the movie as well. So
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you landed here in America, totally new world. How old were you when that happened? And then what were some of the first things that you noticed, the first challenges that you experienced? Before the show started, you and I talked a little bit about just like you've constantly put yourself in these crazy situations where you've had to learn how to fit in, you've had to learn, different cultures. So like how in the world did you have the courage to do that? And what were some of the first things that you feel like you had to get over and kind of take in when you were first in high school here?
So when I first got accepted, I was 17 years old. I'd have to move here to be a senior in high school, and I got assigned to a host family who I still in touch with, and they are wonderful. They are my chosen family. We went through a lot together in terms of my learning potential, an obstacle that I have to overcome to thrive in high school because I have no family system. I have zero friends and everything is new. I remember walking in high school, Princeton High School, day one. I did not understand a thing, and it's like, oh my! And then I watched so much American movie back in Thailand. I'm like, all right, the mean girl gonna come for me. I might get punched to the locker. Like, do I fight back or do I cry? Like it was so much going on, and but I tend to do my best. And I'm like, "Okay, Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. I'm here to study. I'll learn it. And if I get picked on, it's cool. We'll just go through with it."
Wow.
And everybody's been great to me and they try to help and they try to understand. So the experience was wonderful. I made many new friendships and I learned what it's like to fit in and to not fit in and how to be kind and how to become a better version of myself each year. So
Hmm.
every year has been significantly improvement, whether good or bad. I learned from it. So love it so
Yeah.
far.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome. Are there any like misconceptions about America that you think that where you come from in Thailand or maybe just other people in general, what are some misconceptions that maybe even you had coming into America that you were like, you got here and you're like, oh wait, this isn't actually how it is at all? Was there anything that stuck out to you? You talked about high school, but was there anything else that stuck out to
hmm
you?
hmm hmm Um, the culture shock is a real thing. In America, people more kind of like focus on their own routine as a person. But in Thailand, we tend to do it as a group, as a family, as a team. So when I first got here, it's kind of like everybody is just on their own thing in their own world, right? So when you're trying to like go talk to them, they might think you're weird, like, well, just leave me alone. So that was like first culture shock for me on my early year here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I would never think of. So my husband and I just went to Israel and it was very similar. I was like, man, I love this. Like everybody looks out for their neighbors and they're a community. And I think maybe in small towns in America you still get that, but in bigger cities, we don't have markets. We don't have just fresh food down the street because a lot of times our climate too just doesn't allow for that. But that's something that
hmm
I love whenever I travel internationally is just the sense of community and like pride from where you come from and pride for your culture. And obviously we're the melting pot, so it's just a bit different because everyone is kind of from somewhere different, doing something
Yeah.
different. And that's
hmm
the benefit of the American dream, but also at the same time, everybody's just kind of like you said, just doing their own thing.
Yeah. I think we are in the best spot as a country in terms of like United States of America. We attract the best talent around the world. People come here to have a fair chance of being successful in their own way, whether it's cooking, whether it's going to school, become a doctor, become a technician, anything, that dream can come true here. And I can see, there's good and bad in everything. When you focus so much, sometimes you forgot to make time for different priority for such as communities or family. But once you're ready and create mental space for it, that we can create community then. And you will be in a
Yeah.
better position and it will create stronger community then too. So
Yeah.
everybody's a work process.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you graduate from high school and then you apply again to get a scholarship to college. Walk me through a little bit
Mhm.
more of how that story continued and when ultimately did you know that you kind of wanted to go the business finance route? Was that always something that you knew, or was there a significant moment where you're like, man, maybe this is something that I should do?
So one of my worst fear is to go somewhere but go the wrong direction. And I was afraid that I'm gonna waste all this time working so hard, collecting all this stuff and never cherish it, just kind of drop it on the ground. So I early year in college or like in the end of high school, I do a lot of internal work to see who I am, who I want to be, what are my strengths and weaknesses, can I overcome it? I try not to like make it my weakness less weak. I just kind of thrive it because I feel like truly talented people gotta be a little crazy to take it to the next level. So I accept my weakness. I try to minimize everything and then I just focus on my strength. And my strength is my I can see people and I can understand their need. Sometimes I can understand their past, present, and future so that I can do my best to empower that to help to make the solution become solved or to make the dream come true that I can try and help with that. So I asked myself what major or knowledge that can help me become a better of that version for me. And I study business just because I want to know about the balance sheet, the business world. And then I minor in psychology, so I understand human minds. So I combine them together. Now I work in finance. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I use that. I use that every day.
Wow. That's so
Mhm.
cool. So you and I again before we started rolling, we're talking about you're in a very competitive career and you were saying even as an American it's competitive. So what was that journey after college and maybe even in college, but after college where you're trying to get your first job? Did you get a job like right after you said you had continuing education, or were there any really
Mhm.
hard moments where I don't know, you were like, can I really do this? Or just any obstacles that stick out on that
Mhm.
journey of getting into this crazy world of finance, which is crazy.
Mhm. I would say I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I somehow in the smartest with that person in the same group with that person in the room. So I know how to like navigate through it.
Hmm.
So when I first about to graduate college, I tend to plan ahead. I want to work for Morgan Stanley. It's just kind of I have tunnel vision when I want something, I go for it. And I was a regular student, nothing special about me. And I submit Morgan Stanley. And then it's kind of like automatically rejected. So I didn't go through the first, because of my resume, I don't have enough experience. I'm just a new grad. So I didn't take no for an answer. So I drive an hour to the closest Morgan Stanley branch, which is in Wayzata, Minnesota. And I kind of like do research ahead of time. So I know who is who, when, what, how. So I call the receptionist and kind of like key myself up. And I was not even good at driving yet because I grew up here and, I was a college student, didn't have a car, no parent to teach me how to drive. So I have to like ask my classmates, like, yo, teach me. Just get from point A to point B and then I'll like pay your rent or like something like that.
Wow.
And I was like a rookie driver, drive to my dream company at the time and knock on the door and introduce myself and bright eyes, big heart, like hair up, suit up, everything ready to go. Like just pretend like I worked there already. And the branch manager was kind enough to allow me to introduce myself. He's great, and he said, "All right, look at me like I'm crazy," which is I was at the time, and really want to work here. So please allow me to apply again and wash out my application. I know you didn't get to see the first one because it's rejected right away. I promise
Yeah.
you that I'm gonna work really hard. And then he took my application and he said, "Okay, kid, apply again." So 2 months before I graduate, I got a job offer. So they sent me a test of aptitude test and skill set test, and I passed that. And by the time I graduate, I have a dream job laying up for me. You see
Wow.
what happened when you push it? Yeah. So that's
Holy
how my
cow.
career started.
How did you have the courage to do this? So for everybody listening who's making 1,000 excuses, here you have Ploy here who's speaking in her second language. She's only been in the country for like 5 years, and you're driving an hour to beat down a door of a very impressive company just because you refuse to give up. Like there are so many people, do you understand, Ploy, who will never do that because they just don't, I don't know, they don't have the courage. So how in the world do you think that you had the courage to like actually go and potentially be faced with rejection a second time? Like where does that come from
Mhm.
in you?
You know, it must be like a hockey player in me. You miss a single shot you don't take. So shoot your shot every time, everywhere. Like, to try it out. Worst case is already a no, right? And if you keep trying, it might be yes later on. So just keep shooting your shot, whatever it is.
That's amazing. Okay, so you worked for them. How long did you work for them and then kind of what happened after that?
So I was work with Morgan Stanley for a couple years, learn from the best talented co-workers. And later on in career, you would learn more what you want to focus on and what niche you want to go for. So I was a financial advisor. I want to kind of move to a private wealth role, which is more ultra high net worth clients and more complex financial planning. And I love to work with business owners. So that kind of moved like my career to the next level, which I
Hmm.
joined a wonderful team at Merrill Lynch. And had a great run. And now I switched to institutional side because again, it's my job to expand our product to West Coast, which is my dream coast. I love to surf. Can you see I'm kind of like a surfer chick?
I love it. Minnesota, you got hockey and then you got surfing, you know? You're just an
Yeah,
all-around girl. I love it.
love it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So, were there any like has this just been a smooth ride where you've just come in and kind of every time you've just been knocking down the next door, or have there been any obstacles that you can think of, whether it's being a female or being an immigrant? Like, what has kind of maybe take us through some of the times that weren't amazing throughout the last 5, 10 years?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then the lessons that you feel like you've learned because you didn't quit, throughout those hard times.
Hmm. Hmm. I growing up, I never think the inequality between male and female is never registered in my mind. I'm just kind of just be the best version of myself. And sometimes I'm not my best all the time, and I do realize that I got flaw,
Mm.
crazy. I was late sometime, and I was not prepared enough. And if I did both of them, and I see like I do a self reflection of how I feel after that. After I didn't do my best, and now the circumstance that follow it lead me to another, and I was not proud of myself. If I was not proud of myself, then it's like a waste of potential, and then you feel even worse. So wake up every day, I'm kind of like, all right, this is what I gotta do. This is what I can do to make it the most impactful possible. Save everybody time, work hard, and then go live your life. So I
Mm.
tend to prepare, do my best in everything I do.
Mm.
And when it's come to career, it was difficult for sure. I struggled throughout the years. Sometimes I was not accepted because I'm kind of a little like hippie, loud, kind of like different culture, right? And I speak differently, I dress differently, and finance is kind of like black and white and kind of like tame, and I have such a big personality. So the world see me differently, and I see the world differently. So it takes time to adjust that, and it's take to another point that how to not compromise yourself, how you can still be yourself, but do what you do and do in a high level.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It will never end. These
Mm.
days, I still keep doing a self-reflection. Like, will my coworker like understand me well? How can I communicate better? Would they react well to something indifference? Will I ever offend somebody? So I
Mm.
constantly think about this stuff moving forward.
Mm.
And
That's
and
so
once you
awesome.
once you have the experience, you can adjust it accordingly. In any
Mm.
room you walk in, you can just like make it work.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so many people, you're right. I think so many people fail because they are like they try one thing and then it doesn't work and they're like, "Well, I guess I'm done. Like I guess I'm just not, there's something wrong with me or I'm never going to be successful." But you have proven time and
Mm,
time again. I love your look at things where you're just like, "Okay, well, let's just try something else. Okay, let's try something else. Okay, we'll try something else." And you're right, there is
mhm,
literally limitless potential of how you can grow and how you
mhm,
can mature And really that's such a like likable quality too, where I'm sure that you've won people over probably over time too, just because you wouldn't quit in life, who maybe had an opinion
Yeah.
about you in the first, but you're like, I'm not going anywhere and you can't get rid of me and I'm going to work my butt off. Has there ever been a
Yeah,
time where you can think that that's happened?
absolutely. But you know what the trick is? The trick is you should lead by being a student of the game, student of the
Mm,
market, because you can't go wrong, right? Student do good and do bad. Just like when you drive a car and you see a sticker like student driver, you forgive them already whether they forget to turn off the light, you then run red light. You just kind of like, oh, kid, apply that into your work life because
wow.
we're younger, we're females, we're here to learn. And once we get to that point, it's just like a cup half empty, half full. We always have room for more, right? So lead
Yeah.
with that. Just crack every
Wow.
code I ever have.
Wow. That's like, I'm going to sound by that so hard. I'm literally going to type that in my notes right now at 1:32.
Yeah,
You said this,
yeah.
so my team can cut that. That is absolutely
Mhm,
incredible. You're so right. One of my mentors told me a couple months ago, he speaks in very similar language, and he was like, if you're not in love with the game, like you're going to get bored playing it, or or somebody else
mhm,
is going to work harder because they're constantly,
mhm,
studying game tape. Like in sports, you got to look back. You got to see, why did I miss that tackle? Why did I miss that shot? And I think
mhm,
so many
mhm,
people, I come from more of the entrepreneurial world, and you're currently in the corporate world. I think
mhm,
sometimes in the corporate world, maybe because it's not their business technically, they get complacent. But what I love about you is you're kind of working as an inside entrepreneur inside of a business where you're taking massive ownership and you're like, how do I show up and be better? How do I reach this next goal? And you're not waiting for somebody else to set a goal for you, but you're waking up with intention and you're saying, how do I do the next thing? How do I do the next thing? How do you think that you said you've always been a high achiever, but like, what would your advice be to people if they're watching this and they're like, man, how do you find that next, like that grit in you? How do you wake up, or maybe what are some of the practical things that you do to keep like telling yourself to get to the next level? I do think a part of it is just you're either kind of like that or you're not, but maybe there are
mhm.
some things that you do on a day-to-day basis, like you said, reflecting and things like that. Do you have any advice that could be specific for people of how to like curate that mentality kind of?
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, first, rule number one, you gotta know yourself through and through. Because if you don't know yourself, everything else is wrong direction.
Hmm.
So just don't keep your head down. Just follow the crowd, follow whatever people tell you. Maybe meditate, go walk in the woods for 2 days, maybe. Whatever it takes for you to know yourself, figure that part out first. And the second, find your strength, weakness, area of opportunity, write them down. Nobody perfect. We all got 50,000 flaws to work on. So
Hmm.
do that, read that, and then go walk in the wood again for 2 days. And like, let it sit a bit. Let it sit, and then a week later, then I'm like, okay, what's this area of potential that I can explore? Give it a shot. I'll just go to like 15 interviews this month to not to get hired by anyone, just to learn what the company do, how much do they pay, how far can I push them. And then after you do all that work, I promise you, you're gonna get a better sense of direction, who you are as a person and who you want to become, how much you want to make, what life you want, and then
Hmm.
go for it.
Hmm. That
Prepare
is
for it.
that's so amazing. Like I don't think you realize, Ploy, how many people like don't would never think to do that. And you have like this fearlessness about you where you're just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna try it anyway. Like how did you become that way? Like where does that come from, and how would you encourage other people to do things even if they're doing it scared? Like how do you do that?
Mhm, mhm. So I never really the pretty girl. I was kind of like a little tomboy, and I always kind of live under the shadow of other people's. Always the last one, not even good at school. Just kind of like nothing good going. So I'm like, okay, man, do I accept this? Do I move on with this, or do I just kind of like get good at something and then run with it? So I found love for sport, and I just go for it. And later on, when you grow up, things gonna get better. Promise you. Once you take care of your mental, your health, things are gonna get better, whether
Mm,
you like it or not. Oh man,
yeah.
what's that? So just nobody cares. Just work harder. Do it for you and for you
Hmm.
only, and the rest will
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, you were so right. I think I absolutely agree with that. I think if I look back at my own life and I'm like, when have I really like taken a turn for acceleration? And I think it's exactly that. Like you just have to learn how to stop living for other people or their approval, and you just have to like own it and be like, okay, well, why do I want this for me? Like I'm valuable enough to have dreams just because I want to accomplish them. Like I don't really care about whether you like it or not. I'm going to play my game and I'm going to live in my space because I want to.
Yeah. Let's pretend this. When you live for other approval, you basically devoted your life to their path. Like, please approve me, please approve me. 10 years gone by, 5 years gone by. Are you sure you're gonna leave your limited amount of time in this world to this person? And they could say yes, they could say no, they could wake up and one day and decide to not love you anymore and walk away. And then what are you then? So why don't you just change that power into yourself and kind of like, all right, I'm gonna make me proud today by doing this, that, give back, learn how to give, like, so that is easily checked because it's you and you can go anywhere with this if you're content with yourself and know what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dropping bombs, Ploy. This is so good. There can be so many little short forms that I cut these into. I'll be like, this is the easiest episode ever. There's so much goodness. I love it. Okay, so you're working as on the investment banking side now. What are some of the things that you are looking forward to accomplishing in the next couple of years? What are some of the things that you're, working towards that are your goals now?
Mm-hmm. So I'm a corporate person right now, right? So my goal is to help take our team to the next level, whether we want to go public, expand our products. So I have that to overcome first. So I'm just want to give it my all in this few years of building and solid focus without any interruption. And after that, there'll be like 17 doors open more, and I'll pick and choose which one I want to knock down first. So that's all. But in the meantime, I still, trying to become a better friend, become a better daughter, and travel more, spend quality time with people that I devoted my time to. So that's all my focus. Very tunnel vision in a way.
That's awesome. Do you, what have you seen in your professional career that is the reason why other people don't continue to dream like people like you and I? Like, what are some of the things that you would encourage them in, but also what are some of the reasons why people, like, I think a lot of people just like can't even make a decision. Like, if I would ask them and I'm like, what are your goals? They couldn't even tell me. Like, I don't know if they're just complacent or if they're just afraid or whatever, but like, what would your advice to those people be of how they can like want more for their life, I guess?
Well, it's our question to ask them, do you want more out of life? And wait for an answer. And then let them explain. Some people doesn't want to be the president of the United States. Some people just want to be stay-home mom or anything that make them happy. So I think you should lead with happiness, and happiness can have many different meaning for everybody. For me, happiness is peace of mind, that I don't have to feel like anxious. I can just like sense of accomplishment, peacefulness, traveling, music. So that's my happiness. So for different people, we cannot call them complacent for not being ambitious, right? Maybe they just want to chill at home, meditate, and that they're happy, and that they can afford the lifestyle they want. I respect that. So whatever make them happy, do it.
I love that. You are so simple. Like you can say things that take other people like 20 minutes to explain, and you can say it in 2 sentences, and I'm just like, yeah, you're right. Like what wisdom, like just such wisdom. It's awesome. So, a couple more questions for you. When you look at the world and you think about the state, P.S. I love what you said about earlier that you've never looked at yourself like as a woman in business. You're just like, I can do anything I put my mind to. I totally carry the same mindset. And I get it. Like if I was in like a STEM field or something else, like there might be more barriers where like quite literally I am just disrespected because I'm a woman. Because I have some friends in that field, and the barriers that they've come against where they just can't even get in the conversation is ridiculous. But I love that perspective where you're like, but you know what? Like that's out of my control. I'm just gonna go into it. Like I can do anything. And I think more women need to carry that mindset. But when you look at the state of just women maybe that you've interacted with from a corporate perspective, or maybe women that have come to you for advice, or you just think about the people that will be listening to this podcast. Is there anything else that's kind of your message to them if they're looking at you and they're like, Ploy is a rock star. I could never be like her. Like, she's gorgeous and she's smart and she's talented. I could never be like that. Like, what else would you want to encourage women with that might be feeling like they're just at ground zero and they have no idea how to get to where you are today?
Okay. You don't want to be like me. You can be much better. If you can be anything, be better. So being females, we cannot choose what's gonna happen to us, right? But we can. Let me say that again. Being a woman have many blessings within itself. We bring a lot to the table that men couldn't. So I wouldn't say female, male. I see it as a team, as a society that we all live in, and we complement each other. And everybody have different strengths and weaknesses. For me, I try to embrace my feminine side. I, of course, have the dominant tomboy side too. It built within who I am. I learned how to cherish both of them and make it me. How can I be better? How can I empower the world? How can I do what I love? Because you are what you love. And instead of doubting yourself, I would never be like her, him there. Never compare yourself, because you don't know what they went through. The pain, the cry, the sleepless night, you don't know that. All you know is yourself. So just overcome that, whatever in your head, and overcome step by step. Small win every single day become a big trophy. So don't compare yourself with anyone. They can be pretty. Everybody's always better somehow, somewhere. But we don't know what part they gave up to be there, right? So give and take. Don't compare yourself. Just keep moving forward. Be kind. Be good. You are what you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally so good. Like, how are you? Actually, I want to ask you this. Like, what do you study? Like, do you think it's just life experience? But like, how did you become this like sage, wise person at such a young age? Like, what do you read? What do you listen to? What do you spend your time doing? Because I'm sure a bunch of people are looking at you and they're like, how did you become this?
Oh boy. A lot of pain growing up, I think. You know, when you grow up in the jungle, the rest of the world become easier. So I'm on my late 20s now. On my early 20s, I was just an international student from Thailand. Did not know anything. So just collect experience, and I jumped both foot. And then I got hurt sometime. I got stressed. Somehow almost break my leg. But then I learned through that pain and mistake. And the next step, I try to walk with more precisely. Learn when to pause. When should I hop over this? Or should I just wait on the sideline and then I run? So life is an art. We just have to learn how to dance with it and make sure to have fun along the way. Because what is the price without good journey? Like it becomes very boring. I'm telling you. So enjoy the journey. Destination is just like, hell yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
The journey, we dance the most. So embrace it.
Amazing. You like speak in poetry. You need to be speaking on stages now. We're gonna talk about that later. You are incredible. This is so fun. Okay, last question for you.
Cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So last question, how can people get in contact with you? What's the best way to continue to follow your journey or connect with you? And anything else that you'd like to share with our audience, now is the time.
For sure. Please feel free to reach out to my Instagram at Ploy Archisa. I'm looking for, empowering females. I start from a bad place. I used to see other females like, oh my God, is she gonna like me? Like insecurity come up, like jealousy, cattiness. I used to think like females have that against each other. But now that I go through life and I learned that we already have it hard. We should stick together and empowering each other. Right? And it's just a one start, just kind of like, we got this. And you're gonna realize that female friendship is one of the rare things to find the right one. And I'm here to make sure that I'm part of that and I have you. So let's start with the two, and it can be multiplied by 2000, you never know. So come our ways, let's create something and brainstorm and grow together.
Yes. Amen. Love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This is amazing. I know people are going to like go back and take notes or go get the transcription and look through all these, bombs that you dropped today, which is so good. So it is my honor. Thank you so much for having me. And everybody, thank you for listening. We will see you next week.
Bye.